Writing from Within by Bernard Selling. Overcoming Fear. To tell one life stories, to explore the sad, happy, exciting, boring, fascinating, fearful experiences of one long life seem like a wonderful idea. But how many wonderful ideas have we had in our life that never became anything more than ideas? Quite a few. What stopped them from becoming reality? Probably lack of motivation or fear, or both. If the idea of writing your life story strikes a chord within you, sets off a bell, causes you to salivate, or fills you with unspeakable dread, then you're ready to write your story. What is holding you back is not lack of motivation, but fear, stark, naked fear. Fear of what? Fear of being unable to write well and being criticized by friends and relatives. Fear of being unable to finish, of getting off the track. Fear that you might say too much and embarrass someone. Fear that you might dig up all painful stuff that you can't handle. Fear that you don't have what it takes to write well. Research into the way the brain operates that has revealed that there are two sides to the brain, left and right. Much of our fear writing comes from the way these two sides do or do not work together. We might term the right brain the creator, for apparently it allows us to do creative things, more connections, manifest ideas, imagine situations, see pictures of events. The left side analyzes, categorizes, recalls words, and performs its learning functions in a step-by-step manner. For our purposes, what is important to know is that the analytic left brain has a little attic on top of on top of that houses the critic. He or she is the person in us who says, watch out, you can't do that, you'll fail, so don't even try. You know you're not good at that. Perhaps you will be right if you said the critic sounds a lot like your old mom or dad. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, you may not do something you really want to do until you carry out the garbage. Or clean your room, wash the dishes, get good grades and so on. Sound familiar? Believe me, I know. I'm a parent, and I remember being a child. Parents are great, but they do tend to be critical. They are our guides in the world, but too often they do more than guide us. They tell us not to do certain things, and we become afraid to them. Our critic becomes a problem for us when we want to create something out of nothing, say a story or a painting, because the right brain in which our creator steers every now and then is very tender, very sensitive to criticism. So if our left side, tough-minded, parent critic brain says, forget it, you can't do it, right side, tender-minded creator says, fine, I'm going back to sleep, talk to me in a few weeks. And so our deep desire to create, in this case, to write our life story, gets buried again. How do we counteract the critic? We calm him, we stroke him. When he emerges, we become aware of his presence, but we do not fight him. We can enjoy his antics, be amused by his sword play, and he cuts away at our confidence. But we must keep our range of that slashing saber, and we must avoid a confrontation stance. What do you mean? I can't do it. I can't so. The critic, that is merely a call to arms. On the other hand, a flexible stance, something like, you'll be surprised what I can do, or I've been doing pretty well, so I think I'll keep on creating even if it seems hard, will reflect the critic's thrust and keep our creative juices flowing. So enjoy the critic, be amused by him, but don't try to duel with him. He will actually be valuable at the later stage when he is calmer and able to look at your work objectively, suggesting ways and means of changing and expanding it. We human beings have an almost infinite variety of ways to censor ourselves. Fear not only keeps us from writing, It inhibits us from letting the world see our work when it's done. We tend to be very hard on ourselves as writers. In fact, some very good work might be lost because of pessimism. Following is a fun story that a writer had tossed in the garbage. The writer revealed what he had done, and the class responded by insisting that he resurrect the story and bring it in. Here it is, complete, with stains from coffee ground and fried eggs. My Friend Jake by David Yavitz. From a small town in eastern Russia, our family arrived in the Midwest of the United States in St. Paul, Minnesota, a short distance from the banks of the Mississippi River. Our house was on 2.5 acres, partially in a hollow. The front of the house, that is, the parlor, living room, and dining room, were on the street level. The kitchen and bedroom were on the hollow portion, held up by posts. It was there that life for me began in this country. In the next couple of years, we had acquired a cow, horse, chickens, and ducks. My responsibility was the dogs, keeping their quarters clean and feeding them. I became very fond of them, gave them names, and learned to recognize them by color and size. My favorite dog I called Jake, because we got that particular dog from our neighbor Jake's farm. As I spoke the English language poorly, I did not have any friends, and I adopted Jake as my friend and confidant. He listened to me and could cock his head and did not move until I was through speaking. He will always wait for a while. Jake grew faster than the other dogs, and his feathers, especially around his neck, were a ring of black. The rest was white. That winter the dogs became full grown and plump. 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 In the spring, I was assisting my mother in cleaning that stovepipe. They were full of soot, and as I removed the soot, so much of the black powder made in my face and hands black. It was time to feed the dogs, and I couldn't find Jake, my dog. I looked everywhere and called him. There wasn't any response. I finally went into the house. My mother was at the stove baking what she said was a chicken. Ay, my. I explained to her that Jake, my dog, was lost and they couldn't find him. My mother told me if the dog was lost, she could get me another one, not to worry. At this point, my older sister came into the kitchen and said, "Is the dog done yet?" Oh, God. The sky fell down and I shouted, "That's Jake." They could not pacify me. I cried and told them they were mean and bad to kill Jake. And I ran out of the house saying I didn't want to live there anymore. I said I was going to my uncle's house across the bridge over the river. They didn't believe it, but I started my journey. I knew where the bridge was. I could see it from the home, and I headed in that direction. He was a dirt-faced kid, about 3.5, who cried as he walked toward the bridge. In my mind, I knew my soft-hearted uncle will solve my problems. Well, I didn't get very far on the bridge when I was stopped by a policeman who asked, "Where are you going, young man?" He repeated the question many times. I didn't understand too well. I spoke Yiddish, and the soft-hearted Irish policeman spoke English with a brogue. He took me to the police station. There, an officer who understood me got my story, figured out where I lived, left me at the station, and eventually called my mother. She got my older sister out of the classroom at school and sent her to the station. My sister thought she would have to bail me out. There I was, my sister said, sitting on a table with an ice cream cone in my hand and cried. The tears ran down my face, washing the black suit off in white streaks. The ice cream washed my lips. I was a sight. My mother said, come home. Dinner's waiting for that shit. Said, Mother, I cannot eat the dog. Having read the story, we can see that it is complete and effective. The details and observations are sharp. The dialogue is appropriate. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is personal and deeply felt. Yet, despite its obvious excellence, the writer had dumped it in the trash. Imagine what would have happened not only to the story, but also to the man's future as a writer, had the class not insisted that he retrieve it. Once we understood how the left-brain critic operates, we can begin to work on our memories, knowing that we can diffuse our fears by identifying the pressure of the critic when he appears. You may say, I don't really have any fear, I don't think I have much of a critic. That's wonderful, but let's give ourselves a little test in order to find out. Let's suppose we have been given a task, and we have about a paragraph written myself, and I am inclined to stop at this point and review what I've written. What about you? Do you go on? Or do you keep working on your first paragraph until it feels correct? In the next chapter, we will see what the answer to this question tells us about ourselves and our critic. We'll also be going to work on our first life story.